Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news on July the 24th. Here are the headlines. The National Independent Authority for Elections keeps processing the candidacy files before announcing the short list of nominees for the upcoming presidential elections. The energy sector is expected to be boosted by feldspar exploitation in Ain Barbar field in Annaba province. The Sahrawi president hails Algeria's support for this fair cause while attending the closing session of the summer university held in Boumerdes province. Another group of our nationals' kids in France heads for Algeria to spend their holidays in the motherland. Welcome back. We begin with tonight's main story, where the Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi chaired a government meeting devoted to studying files related to the sectors of digitization, energy, water resources, justice, and sports, and following up on the implementation of the directives of the President of the Republic related to digital transformation, where the government listened to a presentation on the progress of the digitization process of departments and systems used by the tax, national property, and customs departments. In the same setting, the government listened to a presentation on the national strategy for developing fuel storage and distribution facilities. On the other hand, the government reviewed the status of the supply of potable water across the national territory and checked the progress of implementing the supplementary seawater desalination program approved by the President of the Republic. The government also studied and researched a draft executive decree specifying ways to organize penal institutions and facilities, reduction and social integration of detainees. Additionally, the government listened to a presentation on the special preparations of our athletes taking part in Paris Olympic Games. Ahead of the presidential elections on September the 7th, the National Independent Authority of Elections continues processing subscription forms at its level. The decision should be delivered tomorrow by Annie regarding the candidates for the upcoming presidential elections on September the 7th. On behalf of the President of the Republic, the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Saleh Koujil, signed on Wednesday the condolences book at the headquarters of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam following the death of the Secretary General of the Communist Party, Nguyen Phu Trong. On behalf of Algeria, people and government, Koujil presented the sincere condolences and feelings of sympathy to the friendly Vietnamese people. In other news, Sonatrach Group and Toshali Iron and Steel Industry Company signed a protocol agreement at the General Directorate of Sonatrach Group. The protocol will allow a joint study in regard to green hydrogen in Algeria while dependent on renewable energies. The green hydrogen that will be produced will be directed to the manufacturing of green steel at the level of Toshali Iron and Steel Industry Complex in Algeria. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, inaugurated in Annaba a feldspar extraction and processing plant where he stated that Algeria will manage to export 10,000 tons of it thanks to this plant, considered a strategic plant within the framework of the National Development Strategy of the sector of mines. Noordin bin Abassa and Manal Maafa have the following.
A new feldspar extraction and processing unit has just begun operations at the Ain Barbar ore deposit in Annaba. Feldspar, which is in high demand across various industries such as ceramics and glass, will be produced at this facility with an annual capacity of 90,000 tons, a portion of which is earmarked for export. The primary objective is to meet domestic demand and reduce import costs.
تشجيع السيد الرئيس في تطوير المجال. The government has adopted a development strategy for the mining sector, which includes the implementation of 26 mineral research and exploration projects. One of these projects is the extraction and processing of feldspar at Ain Barbar in the commune of Saraidi, which has over 3 million tons of reserves. And according to experts, we could reach up to 6 million tons. The national market consumes more than 120 tons of this mineral annually. This plant produces 90,000 tons per year, in addition to 30,000 tons produced by a neighboring plant, which aims to end the importation of this mineral permanently.
راح نقضي نهائيا على فاتورة الاستيراد لأن هذه المادة.
Another major project is the Fertile Fertilizer Company, which produces more than 220 tons of ammonia each year.
The ammonia production unit has a capacity of 1,000 tons per day, used as a raw material to produce fertilizers.
The commissioning of the 2 electrical transformation stations has ensured energy coverage for the residents of the administrative district of Dra' al-Rish.
This operation has improved energy services and reduced the pressure on other electrical transformation stations, especially during the summer period. Moreover, despite the peak demand reaching 19,500 megawatts this year.
The Qidat Darawash seawater desalination project in Taraf has reached a progress rate exceeding 68%. Initial technical trials are scheduled for September, with full operation status expected by the end of December of 2024.
50 Sahrawi children arrived in Tlemcen province to spend the summer vacation as part of the annual solidarity operation with the Sahrawi people. The international seminar on the Algerian Revolution and its African dimension came to an end. Participants have highlighted this Wednesday the inalienable support of Algeria to liberation movements, notably on the continental level. The proceedings wound up with a unanimous call to continue supporting the Palestinian cause in the establishment of the Palestinian state, as well as the right of Sahrawi people to self-determination. The final communique also shed light on the importance attached by the President of the Republic to African issues and continuous action aiming to reinforce African unity. To Geneva now for the second session of the Preparatory Committee of the 11th Conference on the Review of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Algeria's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva reiterated the full and utter support of Algeria to the treaty. Rashid Bledhan stressed the importance of implementing the decision of a demilitarized zone in the Middle East in light of current events and dangerous threats of the Zionist entity to use nuclear arms against Palestinian civilians. Summer University for the executives of the Polisario Front and Sadr wound up this Wednesday after 10 days of debates and conferences organized at the University Paul in Boudoua, Boumerdès. This 12th edition is held under the motto Sacrifice for Independence and Freedom. Worth mentioning that the ceremony was attended by the president of the Sadr, Brahim Ghali. Here's Manal Maafa with more.
The closing ceremony of the 12th edition of the Sahrawi Front Summer University saw a strong turnout with 400 Sahrawi officials in attendance, including 56 young people who are a vital part of the Sahrawi resistance. Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic President Ibrahim Ghali praised the Algerian struggle for independence as a model for other nations seeking to escape colonial rule. He described the Summer University as a bridge for communication and solidarity, a hub for knowledge, and a platform for sharing experiences between officials from both countries.
The historical and fraternal relations between our two countries are reflected on the ground. The Western Sahara Revolution of May 20 is inspired by the Algerian Revolution of November 1st. Our struggle for freedom involves several stages, and we will never surrender to the Moroccan colonizer in our quest to reclaim our liberty.
An event which mirrors Algeria's solidarity and unwavering support for the Sahrawi cause.
Both Algeria and the Algerian people will always stand in solidarity with the Sahrawi people, faithful to the ideals of the November Revolution and the vows to our martyrs. I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the success of this event. This gathering once again underscores Algeria's steadfast position to this cause.
Held under the slogan, Struggle and Sacrifice for Independence and Freedom, the 12th Summer University of the Polisario Front served as a platform for Sahrawi officials and leaders to strategize on advancing their cause. The goal remains the full recovery of sovereignty over the Sahrawi territories and achieving complete independence.
In Gaza, Khan Yunis and its surrounding area have been subject to a new extremely violent Zionist assault. The bloody attacks have left dozens of Palestinians dead. Health workers are overwhelmed by the wounded, the majority of whom are children. This is the case in the north of the enclave, where a group of Algerian doctors are based. Our correspondent Wissam Abu Zaid and Ines Killu have the latest.
The Zionist cruelty towards the Palestinian people has no limits, with dozens of victims every day and hundreds of wounded pouring into the few hospitals still in operation. At the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, the largest in Gaza, the situation is unbearable. The staff is overcrowded, corridors overflowing with wounded. This is where the Algerian medical team is operating on a humanitarian mission in the enclave for the past 19 days. The staff are working closely with the Palestinian teams, trying to adapt as much as possible with the catastrophic situation on the ground.
The situation is much more difficult than we thought. We are facing a real massacre. We haven't stopped receiving wounded and dead bodies since this morning. In the north, the situation is chaotic, but it's even worse in the south, where the number of wounded and dead is much higher.
In the operating room, the Algerian doctors are not resting and are fulfilling their mission relentlessly. The series of delicate and urgent surgical operations they have carried out have saved many lives, a sign of relief for the Palestinian teams completely exhausted.
Dozens of wounded were sent to emergency with many cases of amputations. Other martyrs didn't even make it to the hospital. These bombardments hit particularly every quarter of Khan Yunis without exception.
The large number of wounded and dead far exceeds the capacity of the Nasser hospital, to such an extent that finding a mattress or bed for patients is becoming an impossible mission. The patients litter the corridors waiting to be treated.
لا يوجد أسر وانظر هنا حتى حالات العناية المركزة.
There are no beds. Look here, we don't even have beds for intensive care or resuscitation patients. We don't even have blankets. This blanket, for example, was brought in by the patient's family.
هذه الأغطية يتم إحضارها من قبل الأهالي بأنفسهم من بيوتهم.
Algerian doctors, fully dedicated and determined, have managed over the last few weeks to save hundreds of lives, sometimes at the risk of their own, yet reinforcement is needed to cope with the ever-deteriorating health situation.
New groups of Algerian children living abroad are arriving to spend their holiday in their country of origin. This initiative, launched by the President of the Republic, aims to strengthen ties with our community there. The joy and excitement were evident at the departure airports, namely Paris, Lille, and even Lyon. Afif Belhouchet and Ines Killu.
As soon as they are back, they are leaving again, and this is the case of vacation camp supervisors for our national kids in France.
It is the second session of a program which in activities we are trying to make them spend a great vacation. We are going to set up a set of internal rules that will also help them to respect each other and be autonomous and responsible.
More than just a camp, this trip also aims to understand their origins, customs, and also traditions.
I'd like to thank everyone, the Grand Mosque of Paris and the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, for organizing and financing this trip.
It's a great source of pride for children who are well aware that they are special guests in their ancestors' land.
I would like to thank the Grand Mosque of Paris and Algeria for offering us this trip, thanks to the President of the Republic.
And it's the same atmosphere of joy at the level of the airport.
Suite à l'invitation de Son Excellence le Président de la République.
Following the initiative of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, whom we thank, children came back from the first session, and we are now in the process of organizing the departure of the second group, which will leave from the same location in Zemmouri al-Bahri in Boumerdaz province near Algiers.
De Boumerdaz, à côté d'Alger.
A moment of joy and excitement for kids traveling for the first time without their moms and dads.
I usually travel with my mom and dad, but today it is an exceptional day. I'm traveling alone with the Grand Mosque of Paris.
For their part, their parents voiced a great deal of gratitude.
It's the first time my children have traveled without me or their father. I'd like to thank the government and the Grand Mosque of Paris for this initiative.
Lyon City witnessed the same joyful atmosphere. Kids were so moved. I'm Swiss Algerian. I'm proud to be making this trip and for organizing the summer camp. I thank the Grand Mosque of Paris and the Algerian president.
The Algerian delegation arrived in Paris to take part in the 2024 Olympic Games, where all means have been mobilized to ensure the good running of this important event. Our athletes, for their part, are ready to snatch medals and honor their country. Reported by Mukhtar Hamani, taken up by Melissa Kabash.
The Algerian delegation taking part in the 2024 Olympic Games were welcomed at the Olympic Village, just like other athletes.
All means have been mobilized for the benefit of our athletes, who will be arriving in line with the competition's program. We hope that everything goes well for our athletes.
Our athletes, for their part, are very motivated, hoping to snatch medals and honor our country.
Très bonnes impressions. Donc on est venu en avance, comme ça on a pu tester la salle de compétition.
We came earlier so as to adapt with the new training conditions and hoist the national flag.
Et même au village, avec toute la délégation algérienne, tout ce qui est mis à notre disposition, tout se passe très bien.
Très bien, ouais. Donc là, nous, ça fait quelques jours qu'on est arrivé.
We're trying to adapt and looking forward to starting the competition.
To achieve this objective, our ambassador to France paid them a visit to boost their morale and snatch more medals, particularly with the support of large community living in France. Good luck, the least to say, for our representatives in the mega sporting event.
Good luck to our athletes, and thank you so much for watching. Take care and good night.